What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Art of War. I'm John. This is Richard. We are joining you at 9:30 in the morning on a Friday. It surely must be a very special occasion.
It is. The Omnisci has blessed us with an FAQ today.
They have?
They have indeed.
They have.
Admech has been the talk of the town for a while now. They've been dominating a lot of the GTs and majors. Not the LSO, but they still did pretty decent there.
Still did pretty good.
And Games Workshop has seen it fit to release an FAQ on the faction. How harsh is this FAQ, John?
It definitely helps.
It helps.
Admech was the clear-cut, undisputed #1 army in the game. I don't think anyone would tell you that anyone else was on top of the pile right now.
John would tell you Celestine.
Saint Celestine, if she was her own faction, would be the best army in the game. However, since she can only be taken once, it was Admech. They definitely took some nerfs. How harsh of nerfs are we talking? That's what we're talking, right?
Let's walk through them.
Let's walk through them.
All right, starting up, first off, Solar Blessing, which is the Lucius trait. It has changed to each time an attack with a damage characteristic of 1 is allocated to a model with this dogma. Unless that model is receiving the benefit of light cover, you add 1 to the saving throw made against that attack. So now you cannot stack cover and the Lucius buff.
Yeah.
However, you can still stock the Doctrina. No problem against damage 1 weapons.
But it's only one turn at least, unless, of course...
Unless you are the veteran cohort and you pick the Canic Thrall net and you keep putting them into +1.
Yeah, right. Unless you choose to have a 2-up save. But then it's only one unit.
It's only one unit. That's perfectly fair. Not the biggest nerf that Lucius could have taken. I've seen some people were proposing that this instead, did something AP modification, and then this is a pretty light tap on Lucius overall.
Yeah.
It just means that I think you're going to see the Firepoint telemetry cache a bit less now. That's the thing that gives cover.
Yeah.
Certainly in Lucius lists, but overall, you also don't see it that often in Mars because of Shroud Psalm. So,
not bad.
Minor change for Admech here. It's a change for Lucius, but not really toning down what, in most people's opinion, was the best of the sub-factions. We've got Acquisition at all costs. This is one of my favorite strats that Admech have access to. This was the 1 CP. If you're touching an objective, you auto-pass morale on it. Beautiful. So you can do it on anything you wanted, and it wasn't once per game. So they made 2 changes to it. One, that the unit that is auto-passing morale has to be wholly within 6 of the objective.
Yep.
And then the second part is you can only use it once per game.
I'm actually really happy with this one, because when people took a lot of infantry blocks, morale was often a way to try to deal with them, because Skitarii leadership is like 7 when they have the alpha live. It's not that impressive.
7, if they're veterans, +1, and then they can get the enhanced data tether, but that's a lot of
extra stuff. That's a lot of stuff. Yeah. So I like this because it's harder to use the strat, and you don't use it every turn, because it felt like trying to do morale shenanigans with Skitarii was basically pointless, because they had enough CPU to just rack this out over and over and over.
Yeah, turn after turn, just...
Yeah. That's what would happen.
There's a complete lack of forgiveness. This, I think, is one of the bigger changes overall.
Yeah, this is one I'm happy with.
This is one that, you'll use it. You can probably use it once early game. You don't really... Maybe it's not a complete necessary situation, but you just want to be safe. And then late game, you'd have it still in your back pocket to do a critical, I need to auto-pass morale here for like a 10, 5-point swing, whatever it is. Now, that
you
safety
really have to
play...
save it.
Exactly, that safety play of, hey, I just don't want to risk losing a couple extra models here, rolling poor on my combat attrition. You can't really do that anymore.
Yeah, and also the Holy Within, it's hard to get Holy Within with a 20-man unit sometimes. You have to really crowd everything up.
Yeah, I think in the cases of using it on the 20-mans, we're probably only going to be seeing the circumstances, like has come up in the Sisters games, where you do actually wipe most of the Skitarii break, but the one model standing on the objective, I am auto-passing him. Yeah. But now it's only once. Now you know that's gone.
Yeah,
and so
which helps. Helps a lot.
All right. So I think this is actually quite a big change. This is one of my favorite strats. Once per game is the big part.
That was necessary.
Let us see. We have Enriched Rounds, a stratagem that people were talking about a lot. It was honestly top 5 broken stratagems. Top 3.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna tone that down to top 3
in 9th edition.
The
ones that we've seen, it was just absolutely absurd. 1 CP.
The math into Bellacore was literally insulting.
So you'd be able to on hit rolls 4+ auto wound, absolutely brutal against so many different things. You're running 9 Chronos, don't care. Here's 60 Vanguard shots, auto wounding on 4-ups.
It was just 35 wounds into -1 to hit. Didn't matter.
Yep. It didn't work against vehicles, which is the only saving grace, but still, it works against pretty much everything. And you could still split fire doing it.
Yep.
So, what they change it to? First of all, they added a CP cost. If your unit is 11 plus models, it is 2 CP instead of 1 CP.
Yep.
Perfect change. I wish they were just more consistent with the codexes doing this type of staggering where the small unit, yes, it should cost less CP to do a good strat on it. Whereas if you're running a giant unit, it should cost more.
Yeah,
Then it changed to, instead of on hit rolls of 4-up, it's hit rolls of 5-up.
Yes. So, cost the extra CP, that was brutally necessary. 1 CP was insane. The fact that they didn't scale this the first time hurt my soul. Especially when like the Ranger strat was 2 CP and this was 1 CP.
Yeah.
5s instead of 4s. I mean, it's you take the full 20 mana instead of doing about 30 or 35 if you reroll 1s. You're now doing about 20 or like 23 if you reroll 1s.
Which is still great, honestly.
It's still, when you want to use the strat, you're going to use it, but it's less punishing the opponent to use it.
It's not just 1 CP each turn that I have Vanguard.
Yeah, I don't think you automatically use it every time you shoot Vanguard. Because like I would like every time I played against Vanguard, they spent that CP, unless they're shooting a vehicle, which never happened. Because they were like, oh, like they'd start rolling, they'd be like, oh yeah, I'm obviously spending this 1 CP, and I'm like, yeah, I know what's coming here. If you have a command point left, this is what you're using it on, because it's insane. Really happy about this one, because it curbed the stupid excesses of Vanguard. Now Rangers versus Vanguard, I feel like it's leaning more Rangers here.
Well, we're gonna see, because Galvanic Volley Fire also got changed. It used to be that you would change the weapons from heavy to rapid fire, which meant in half range they would be able to get 4 shots apiece. Now instead it switches the guns to heavy 3. So they stay a heavy weapon.
Is this a buff?
This is a buff.
This is a buff, right?
Straight up for Rangers.
This is a buff, right?
This is good stuff.
God.
So no CP cost associated with no CP increase on this. So
yes, just 2.
Remains 2 CP.
You can make it once per game, once per game if you have one of the
Holy Order traits.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think this is great because the Ranger unit typically you want to play it a little safer. You want to play the angles with them. Being able to just get that extra shot without having it closer to get rapid fire range, beautiful. This is actually a buff in my
might
opinion.
actually be a buff.
So
it's a situational buff.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they no longer get to just here's 80 shots at 19.5 inches, which was annoying. But now they have no incentive to get closer than 36 inches.
80 was often excessive too. Did you need 80 shots in that circumstance? Probably not, because you have other units backing them up. But
and
it combos with the Ray. Why it's so good is it combos with the Rayman of the Techno Martyr to ignore a whole ballistic skill and hit modifiers. So that's why you're still hitting on 3s, reroll the 1s, maybe hitting on 2s if it's.
What you used to see is you would see 2 Ranger squads shooting. One would stay back and get Raymond and ignore the heavy penalty, and one would close the distance, go to rapid fire, and then not have a heavy penalty.
Yep.
So this is more for 1 Ranger squad.
Yep.
If they're trying to do 2, this is not as
2
good.
2+, yeah.
If they're doing 2+, it's not as good. But 1 Ranger squad, again, Raymond ignore or Mars ignore. Now that Lucius has got a love tap, we'll talk about other Forge Worlds in a moment. This is not the bottom line. This is not a harsh nerf on the Ranger strat. Situationally better, situationally worse.
Enriched rounds got nerfed. This is
a
possibly lateral, if not a little.
I think
more
it's
upside.
I think it's lateral where it curbs the worst excesses, but across the board it feels more solid and dependable. Because Admech don't necessarily want to be within 20 inches with their Ranger bricks.
I really didn't.
Yeah. Now, you did it because you were probably going to kill me anyway, and I probably wasn't going to hit back hard enough. But,
it might be a bit of, no, I still think it's great. Even with the veteran cohort where you want to get closer, it's still
really good.
Alright, so that's Galvanic Volley Fire. Those were the 2 main strats buffing the Skitarii damage output. So both of them got changed in some way. Then the next change was removing core from Iron Strider, Ballistari, and the poor Dragoons, which we may never see.
Wow. I totally
I get it for consistency, but goodbye.
Yeah, wow, Dragoons. I did not even know you long.
There's still hope for the solo Dragoon just hiding behind terrain to get you Eradication of Flash points, but
that hurts.
Outside of that...
That hurts so bad.
As a damage dealer.
Yeah, wow.
Okay, so Iron Striders, obviously a big part of most of the meta lists. They're running, on average, about 6 Iron Striders.
Yeah, you usually weren't putting the command phase buffs on Iron Striders, although you could occasionally.
Yep.
Usually it was the reroll once to wound and often to hit as well from the marshal.
Yep.
I think that's what this normally was.
Yep.
And also to ignore degradation required core, right? Or data tether?
Data tether.
Okay, so you can still do some of the buffs with data tether.
Yeah.
This isn't a huge nerf.
I think, my personal opinion was Iron Striders were best in Mars. I still think they're the best in Mars. And
easily.
That's probably the main way I would take them outside of, one larger unit that can
Do you still think they're worth it in Mars?
Yeah, 100%.
100%?
Yeah,
Okay.
100%. They get the free reroll each turn, and then you have the canonical turn for reroll hit, wounded, damage roll. Okay. That's perfectly fine. Okay. In most of the games that I played where you needed to get rid of the anti-tank, 1 to 2 turns is what you needed. And really that turn where you pop the canonical, you get enough damage done that you don't really need to do too much with them after that. So I think if you're running Mars, you're going to keep probably the same number of Iron Striders, frankly, and keep rolling.
All right, interesting.
Yeah. Anything else from Iron Striders for you?
I think I'm ready to just talk about the overall impact because I think that's all the changes, right?
Yeah, that is all the changes. No FAQ updates, and that was all the.
So Lucius got a little worse. Doesn't stack with light cover. Still stacks with heavy cover if an event ever uses that. So keep an eye on that.
And the Doctrina.
And it does stack with the Doctrina. So 2-up save is possible with the Doctrina, but mild nerf to Lucius, nerf to the Autopass Morale strat, which was both of those extremely necessary. I think honestly my favorite change is the one they did to the Autopass Morale. That was the one that felt like it was enough.
I think that and
Enriched rounds felt like enough. Then they also side graded the Ranger strat. It really wasn't a strong nerf. Yeah. And then they removed core from the Iron Striders.
That's also relative.
That is a nerf.
Impactful.
Yeah, that is impactful. Overall, how do you feel?
I think this is a great FAQ for Admech. Feeling pretty unscathed, honestly.
Yeah, this is great for Admech.
I heard he dropped down the number of Iron Striders that he was playing. And they didn't touch anything with Infiltrators, Cerberus Raiders, all my favorite speed units that actually help you win the mission. Didn't touch any of them, so perfectly happy with these changes. I was never spamming Enriched rounds very much. Yeah. I'd use it for, that one turn where I needed to, overwhelm something like Nick's Rax build. But I wasn't spamming it turn after turn after turn. Usually you have enough random fire elsewhere that you're going to kill it without enriched rounds anyway. So don't mind that. I love galvanic fire change. I think it's better for my style with the Rangers.
Yeah.
So
that might actually be a buff.
I much prefer this version of galvanic fire for my Rangers, at least how I play them. And Iron Striders, I was already running minimal, as you saw in the Grippina build that I played. I didn't run any. But if I'm running Mars, I like a couple of them, and I think they're still very strong in Mars.
Yeah. So, nothing in here was objectively bad, and this does close the gap.
The Autopass Morale was clutch in it. I use it pretty much twice a game.
Yes, that's the one I'm most happy about.
That's the biggest change for me, is I have to be really careful about when I use that. Because John has seen it twice, back-to-back turns and just huge point swings because of that. So now I have to potentially save that 2 CP generic auto pass, and so I have to be a little more conservative with command points overall, which is just something Admech has to do.
Initial take is that it felt like GW made these nerfs based on a very small number of army lists that they saw, and then a consensus that Admech was OP. I feel like the GW FAQ team was, sitting around drinking tea because lol British, and eating crumpets, and someone ran in with a ham radio sir, the peasants believe that Admech is overpowered. It's horrible. I'm sorry. I'll stop now. Okay, so they were all right, Admech's OP. Well, what's wrong with that? And they just Googled Admech, and Manny Chima's list came up, and they're like, wow, that's dumb. And they scroll down to the second result, and someone was it was a hot take YouTube video from April 30th of are Iron Striders OP, and that's the research. That was what they looked at. Yeah, and they're like, well, Manny's doing Lucius infantry spam, so let's curb that a little bit. Okay, Iron Striders are OP, well, sure, let's stop that. And they just didn't look at you taking 27 Cerberus Raiders, Mitch Pelham taking 50 frickin' Sicarans, and just brutalizing people with that. You're welcome, Adam Lane. That was for you. Oh, there's a lot of good stuff left.
I think, well,
and I think the
to that
best
point,
stuff may be left.
I think they got the low-hanging fruit, the just obvious options. I still think the Sakaran and Cerberus Raider build takes a lot more skill than just blowing somebody off the board with your Skitarii and your Iron Striders. Yeah. So
also, I still think this is good, and I'm not losing hope here because one, this is objectively worse for Admech than it was yesterday. I still think Admech is the best codex in the game without any real questions, right? This did not make them worse than Sisters or Drukhari in my mind. Agree, disagree?
No, I think terrain is what makes the difference.
Terrain is always going to help.
No, I don't think this is
this
impactful enough.
No. Veteran Sakarans are about to be everywhere. What I do like, though, is that this maybe kind of shrinks the range of what is good in Admech so that it's a little easier to build for.
I think against the top two, like this, once again, the most impactful change is acquisition at any cost. That was like such a powerful tool against Drukhari and Sisters, combating their objectives and surviving on them.
Well, that combined with Lucius makes me hope that if I have a small footprint army, honestly, I'm immediately thinking Marines here, with decent weight of fire, that even if it's damage 1, that I can wait for the turn where they're not +1 save, and then I can jump out, kick down the door, and just put a bunch of AP1 bolter shots into every unit on the board. And just be like, well, you're not all wholly within, take some morale checks, and now you don't have a big brick.
Whittling them down is
whittling down is big, and also
if you're running 7 Skitarii bricks, it's going to be really difficult to kind of hide all that and make sure it doesn't get chipped.
I'm also really hoping here, really am, that if chickens get less powerful, that T8 vehicles become a dreadnought. I'm sorry, T8 vehicles become a problem.
They become a dreadnought.
John become a dreadnought? What? Dreadnoughts are back, baby?
John only has dreadnoughts on his line.
I always have
just wanted to say
dreadnoughts. I did. I want to say dreadnoughts. I'm gonna beat your Admech with triple ironclad dreadnought, and you're not gonna know what to do with your life.
But I agree with that. I think this will immediately, especially in the non-Mars builds, have people drop significantly in the number of Iron Striders, which helps more vehicle-heavy builds. Yep. This especially helps armies like Orcs, which are coming into the meta and have a lot of really powerful vehicles.
High toughness stuff,
Exactly. So I think that'll be a big boon to armies like Orcs. But also, of course, the Space Marine Dreadnought lists.
Mm-hmm.
Got a $10 super chat from Mr. Matt O. Rip to the Dragoons, one of the coolest Admech units. One day, their time will come. Thanks for jumping on this morning.
Thanks
so much, Matt. Very much appreciate your support. And let us know what you want for your stream match, because you are one of the top 2 donors for this month. Mm-hmm. Unless somebody goes way out of their way during this this stream. Which is possible if they really want 1,000 Sons of Grey Knights. But Dragoons, yes. Their biggest problem is the fact that they're move blocked. I don't think they're that overpriced, honestly. They could be a little bit cheaper, but their biggest thing is that they have really large bases, and because of the terrain density 9th edition, it's so easy just to be able to move block them down the corridors that they can actually move through. So that's the toughest thing. Losing core doesn't help.
Yep.
So just less enticing to ever take.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I'm hoping if Admech builds get less diverse, because I think that their best stuff is still there. But, like, honestly, I don't try to build a Dreadnought list to counter Sakaran spam, because I know that there's... Like, one of the Admech lists I played at the Lone Star Open had, I want to say, like, 9 or 10 chickens in it. Like, I'm not bringing Dreadnoughts into 9 or 10 chickens. I know what's gonna happen to me. Yeah. I'm too young to die that bad.
You've seen what happened to Jack.
Yeah, no, I heard. Actually, I didn't want to watch that. So I'm hoping that there will be play for more things to emerge as Admech counters. Honestly, Volkite Dreadnoughts are really good into Sakarans and the cavalry. Mm-hmm. If there are less Laz chickens and I don't immediately die, I could feel better about that.
Yeah.
Right? That would not feel bad. So maybe that's my answer. I don't know.
I mean, it's just small tweaks can help change the meta, which then shifts what everybody else is bringing. So
exactly.
We've seen it before with these relative, like we saw with the Drukhari FAQ.
Yeah.
It fairly significantly, even though there were only a couple changes in there, shifted the way in which Drukhari plays.
Yeah. I mean, I say this fully unironically. If you don't take any Laz chickens in an Admech list, would you struggle with Lehman Russ?
Lehman Russ? No.
No? You don't think so?
I feel like you just wrap all the stuff that guard has.
Okay. Assuming that I am competent and don't let you do that.
not letting me is going to be tough.
I will find a way. So.
I'm thinking veteran. I think you run the Skitarii veteran cohort now and just advance and charge into stuff. And I don't think Guard have the tools to deal with that much on top of them.
Sounds like a request match someone needs to make.
Cool.
I can beat you with Guard. No last chickens. I take tanks. I got this. Hellhound time. It's 12 shots. It's heavy 12.
I'll be Stygies for fun, so I ignore Overwatch. Great. It's a great part of Stygies that you never think about.
Really just didn't even know that was an option, honestly.
Just get Battlestar rerolls, feel no pain with data hordes, servo auguries. I think you just go Mars, honestly. I think the Canonical is just so good, and then the free reroll to hit.
On planes. Yeah.
Super consistent.
Flyer spam is definitely something to consider, but I do still think that you run that option of, oops, I went second.
Yeah. I still think there's so much anti-tank still in the game.
There is.
And it might get a little bit less with less Iron Striders on the board, but I feel like most people would probably, if they were in that like 6 to 8 category, they'll go down to, like 4.
Yeah. And
that'd still be pretty reasonable. John, how do you handle Admech flyers with sisters? Well, very carefully.
Yep. I acknowledge the fact that they can auto-explode, and whatever I'm sending in is going to just make its peace with that fact. Zephyrim or Celestine will tear one out of the sky in one turn. And honestly, I'm already taking a heavy penalty on my Meltas. I don't really care.
But you got Volley shooting as well.
Volley shooting can actually
hanging around.
Yeah, well, yeah. So Volley shooting can actually kill a plane in one shot without too much of a stretch. It's about because the flyers are T7. It's not easy, but.
How do you feel about Demon Karens now? Are they back?
Ooh, this does not hurt. All of these changes are not bad for Tyranids. I don't know if they're amazing, but maybe it'd be worth considering. Honestly, Admech Overwatch is one of the scary parts of this.
Yeah.
But it definitely helps. If there are less live chickens, objectively, Demon Karens are less screwed than before.
I'm surprised that they didn't touch any of the Warlord traits. The Holy Order traits.
They did not do as much as I hope.
Even a simple change that you can't.
This feels less impactful than the Drukhari FAQ.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing there was the Raider change, just dropping a whole bunch of points out of their list.
Yeah.
So that you can't run 8 or 9 transports. And liquefiers. Those are the two main changes.
Yeah, there were no points changes here.
Liquefiers basically got nuked from orbit. There's no more, and nothing here got nuked from orbit.
No.
Except for Sindonian Dragoons, which weren't a part of them.
Yeah, that wasn't really a problem, though. I mean, they were already, hanging on by fingernails, so, a love tap is all you need.
They're straight into the pit of hell.
Oh my god, they're gone.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Sindonian Dragoons.
Worth bringing out the Silent King again? No, because almost all the other factions also have crazy anti-tank. Sisters exist, and then you still have all these Dark Lances from Drukhari, so... No, but I will try. If Necrons come out, if we play another Necron game in the near future, or you could request a game with the Silent King, I'll happily play him. I think Mefrit with the snipers, the Death Marks, is actually not terrible.
Yeah.
Oh. You need to kill those Admech characters still.
Gotta kill those Admech characters. Yeah, because none of them got nerfs at all.
Nope. Alright, well, I think overall, basically our opinion is small nerfs here and there. The acquisition at all costs, I think, is going to be the most impactful, followed by Enriched Rounds.
And then the core change.
And then the core change to Iron Striders.
Yep.
But I think Admech are still in an amazing spot.
Admech are still in a great spot. I want to see how Admech lists change, because right now they're all over the place.
Yeah.
And they're all working. And if they dial in a little bit on, all right, now everyone is doing veteran cohort Sakaran Rush. If it becomes one thing, it may be easier to counter.
Yeah, Drukhari, it was a billion transports with just cheap MSU inside.
Once that emerged as this is Drukhari, people started building hard counters as much as they could, like Ultramarines. And Admech, it has been a little more difficult to do that, I think. So, fingers crossed, we'll find something.
But yeah, if Admech stay up there, don't expect this to be the last of their FAQ
updates.
No,
I think this is an Iron Hand situation where the first FAQ was very good, but things were missed. And they will be abused, and then we will have to come back in later.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us this early morning. We will be playing the new Admech certainly very soon, probably in the War Room next week. I will continue testing the veteran cohort because I think it has a lot of powerful rules heading into Games Workshop Orlando.
Yep.
But if you have any other questions for us, please do feel free to come in our Hangout and Hobby on Monday and ask any of the questions that you want. Thanks everybody for joining us, and we will see you all next time.
Bye-bye.
Dive even deeper into competitive 40K and become a member of the world's most knowledgeable and positive community.
The War Room is an exclusive group that brings together the world's best 40K players as coaches to help anyone from a newer player to an experienced tournament veteran learn, grow, and reach their goals within our shared hobby.
Each week we offer a variety of live stream coaching matches centered around illuminating the thought process and in-game decision making of top players. We explain everything we're doing and why.
You'll learn about the ever-evolving meta, match play mission theory, list making, and discussion of every faction in the game, and have access to analysis of all the latest rules. Our team of highly experienced coaches teach weekly clinics on each individual faction, strategy sessions on deployment and cool tricks, and meta-analyses each week during Meta Monday.
We are committed to not only providing the best knowledge for players available, but also building a one-of-a-kind community.
Come be a part of the War Room.